So Shane Black set his sights on the Predator.
And we're here to tell you if you should honestly give it a shot. Uh-oh. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
And we are obviously here to tell you our thoughts on The Predator, which we got to see an advanced screening of. We were actually invited to an advanced screening by a friend of the show, Timothy Chismar, and we didn't get to go. It was in Vegas. Things prevented us from actually going, but at the last second, Fuego got an invitation, or at least we won tickets to
it was an invite win from Red Carpet Crash. So yeah.
So we got to we actually went, and we were in the standby line, but luckily Fuego was there 2.5 hours early.
Dedication, man.
So we were first in the standby line, and I think like 5 or maybe 10 people from the standby line made it in. So we definitely lucked out, but we are here to give you our thoughts. We're going to do a non-spoiler review, and we will do a separate spoiler review. If you guys want to have the movie ruined for you, we'll certainly do it for you. But let's do the overall thoughts, which apparently we might be a little more divided on than I thought, because I loved the movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I had a really good time with it. I thought there were things that were over the top and some conveniences, of course, but overall, I thought it was really a very, very entertaining Predator movie. I actually might... It's not as good as 1. It might be more enjoyable overall than both 2 and Predators, though, because I think putting them in suburbia actually worked in this film, and I actually really liked a majority of the characters in the movie as well. So overall, I really liked The Predator. Fuego?
I liked some of it, and then there were other... I liked 2/3 of it, let's put it that way. I thought that the characters were terrific, and they had fantastic chemistry and dialogue, and it was probably the bloodiest Predator movie. The action was great, the kills were good, but the story sucked.
Oh, really?
In this movie for me, and it was like, for the great banter and everything, and it was so funny, it was really stupid too, man, and so that's what prevented me, especially the third act, from loving it. But yeah, I had fun. It was cool.
I actually do agree that the third act was not as good as the first 2/3 of the movie.
It kind of felt like the tone was drastically adjusted. It wasn't as happy-go-lucky and enjoyable.
No, yeah, it became more of the, carnage situation. Although there was a good amount of action in the first 2/3, don't get me wrong.
But they balanced it so much better in the first 2/3 of the film. Like, unfortunately, the behind-the-curtain pull is the fact that they made him restructure and rewrite and reshoot the entire third act of this film.
Really?
Which leads me to believe, like, they said it wasn't studio-y enough, and it felt so much different in tone.
You could definitely feel that difference, for sure.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what that original cut of this film was, and that's one thing that kind of sucks about being industry people and following this sort of news, because as I felt the tone adjust transpiring, and I was like, this is going from a movie I was really, really loving to a movie that it felt very by the numbers in the finale, without spoiling it. So I think it was the worst finale in any Predator movie.
What?
Yep. Big time.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yep. That's one thing
I don't know about
that's
that.
one thing I will stand by. No.
All right, well, and you're not including the AVP movies, though.
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no. Hell no.
All right, I might give you that. I might give you that. But the first 2/3 were stronger than the first 2/3 of 2 and Predators.
Probably. Yeah. Well,
They were.
In some ways.
As hell.
It was very well. It's Shane Black.
We'll go. Yeah, and man,
it
could
felt
you
very
feel?
Shane
You
Black.
could feel
the
the Shane
dialogue,
Black all over this.
especially.
But it was so fun. But here's the thing: Shane Black is to sort of action movie dialogue.
Yeah, whether it's Lethal Weapon.
No. Let me finish my thought.
Sorry.
He is action movie dialogue as Joss Whedon is to ensemble movie dialogue.
True.
An ensemble TV series dialogue. Like he excels at silly, over the top 80s movie dialogue.
And had that feel.
It definitely did, and I dug the hell out of it. Like this, guys, it's not like a very serious in tone Predator movie.
No, it's the goofiest Predator movie. And I
It
feel
is.
Like
It's pretty. Well, it's not goofiest. I mean, there's a lot of sort of goofy conveniences.
Yeah.
When we get to the story, we'll explain this special needs child that is apparently smarter than, like, you know, a lot of people. But,
scientists who have worked on technology for decades.
Yeah, but nonetheless, again, we'll get to that stuff. So let's just jump into the story then. Okay, the trailers actually did a relatively good job of burying what the actual story was. So what we find out is that, I mean, the movie starts off with the Predator ship from the trailer crash landing. But actually, before that, there's some space stuff.
There is, which was well done.
And it was very well done. I actually was just going to say, the rip in space that was the wormhole was one of the coolest space effects I've ever seen.
I agree.
Like, I thought that was so fucking well done. All right, I'm going to have to bleep that.
I was wondering, because we were dropping F-bombs during the Nun...
yeah, no, let's try not to.
We'll heavy. It was like contagious too.
But man, I'm telling you, that was a great setup. So the ship crash lands and the Predator gets loose, but we see that the ship is being chased out in space, and it is being chased by the big Predator that you see in the trailer. So
a different species of Predator, kind of like in Predators, but just a little different.
Exactly. The smaller Predator, which is the Predator that we know from, you know, all the first 3 movies. He crash lands. We don't know why exactly. It seems like almost accidental, which, you know, that all plays into the story, which is good.
Which we can't reveal.
But then when he does, he runs afoul. Like he crash lands in a war zone. And in Mexico. Well, it was, so it's not technically a war zone, but it's where something. This sniper was deployed to take out a warlord in Mexico.
Exactly.
And when he does, the ship crash lands, and so he encounters sort of the ship, and I don't want to ruin too much, but it starts off action, you know, oriented, like right away.
And in that open, like, there's some great carnage in that initial scene, I have to say, and we can get to that and, you know, effects and whatnot, and especially in the spoiler section. But yeah, man, I have to definitely agree with you about the ship intro and stuff like that, because in a movie that had some bad CGI at times, that scene looked terrific, and it set the note for the fact that, okay, they are upping the stakes to some degree, and they're going to be combining new ideas with the old elements and stuff. I mean, being in like a jungle remote type area, you know, with Boyd Holbrook's character, you got the feel. But
well, and we should say that this is this is in the same universe as Predator 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't mention Predators, but Predators took place off planet.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, you wouldn't have known what happened to those characters anyway.
Yeah.
But it actually leads to some cool stuff. You see in the trailer a display with like a couple of Predator faceplates and the shoulder gun.
And also the spear.
And what's really cool is it's basically the scene from T2 where Dyson reveals that they had the Terminator's arm still and the chip. Because these are things from the first 2 Predator movies that have been recovered. So I like that it's in continuity.
Yeah, and that they made reference. And, I mean, they didn't out and out spell out that Busey's kid was the kid. But the fact that he was with the same organization, presumably, you can just assume, you know.
That's true. I didn't even realize that was probably the case. Yeah. So it's... I'm trying to figure out what we can say without spoiling.
I was going to say, because that's the tough thing. Okay, you've seen in the trailers. We'll just go off the trailers.
Okay.
You've seen in the trailers that there is a Predator that has been captured. And so that's kind of where we go from there. And Boyd Holbrook's character, you see him being questioned. That factors in. And
questioned by one of my favorite characters in the movie, actually. This character, I wish I knew his name, but he's the black character that is sort of running
Sterling
the
K. Brown is the name of the actor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sterling K. Brown did an amazing job. He like had a very specific character.
He felt so out of an 80s, 90s action movie.
He did, but it was really, so funny. Like he also felt like he was sort of out of Stranger Things. Like
to some
he
degree.
Was, you know, he said things that made you laugh, but he was still like a dark personality in the movie and things like that.
And without spoiling, he's kind of shades of gray to some degree, I guess you can say, you know, but
so we get introduced to him. He's the one sort of running the experiments, or at least the examination of the Predator. And you know, things happen. We meet Olivia Munn's character, who is a girl that basically a female scientist who posited some genetic combination theories or something like that. So she's brought in, which ties into the plot, right?
Yeah.
A lot of child prodigy references because we're also introduced to Boyd Holbrook. You said Boyd Holbrook, right? His son character,
Jacob Tremblay.
Wow, you're good at this. Good,
I know all the names of the actors.
Yeah, I didn't do the research like I should have probably. But yeah, he did a very good job playing an autistic boy.
Yeah, and that's one bit of the story that I was thinking I was going to be standoffish about from the trailers. And while some of the cliched stuff with the bullies I didn't think worked very well, I thought what they did with him led to some very humorous bits, and
he's more Mercury Rising than he is I Am Sam.
Yes, exactly right. And so there's one. I mean, you see in another one of the trailers. There's Halloween. When this kid goes trick or treating, it's priceless.
Yeah,
it's one of the best scenes.
Oh my god, I forgot about that scene. Yeah, that was amazing. There
great.
were some really key moments in this movie that were so entertaining. Again, I laughed out loud probably 5 or 6 times. And there were times where I was genuinely like, ooh, and one time that he's talking about, I was like, oh, Jesus!
And it wasn't just us. The audience reaction was really vocal and really good. You know,
Shane Black wrote a mean ass Predator movie, man. I really enjoyed the writing.
It's very violent. It's vulgar and funny, and that's the thing that I loved so much about the predominant. Well, because they were all so well written, man. The dialogue was snippy and it was sharp as a flippin' tack. And
dude, I thought Thomas Jane did
he was
an
terrific in this,
job.
Man. Yeah,
he played
he's a supporting character.
He played a supporting character with Tourette's, and his version of Tourette's is so amazing because it's an actual Tourette's. It's not just like cursing like is sometimes done in movies. It's tics and it's things like that. It's uncontrollable speech at times, and it led to some funny exchanges.
The Olivia Munn exchange.
Oh my god, that was so great.
Priceless.
So great. Like the writing was genuinely good in this, I thought, and entertaining.
The dialogue was genuinely really good in this.
Fair enough. The story it goes off the rails in the third act. It does.
Yeah, that was where they lost me, but that didn't mean I didn't really okay, I will use the word love with the predominance of this movie.
Okay.
But it had problems that pissed me off.
I enjoyed so much of the rest of it that I let those things go.
Yeah. And
because honestly, us
talking about it is allowing me to just try to be more focusing on the positive.
There is a lot of ham-fisted stuff. But there's particularly a moment with involving Keegan-Michael Key towards the end, which on the surface is come on, but in the moment is like, oh, like it's crazy how it works. I don't know.
I don't know if we can really spoil too much more, but
no, we can't.
Yeah, we can't.
So they basically, we need to at least continue and say that the big predator does show up and fight the little predator, which you see in the thing,
also,
and then it becomes the humans having to survive
against predator.
Yeah, the super predator and the aftermath of the fight.
Think Super Shredder in Secret of the Ooze, but a predator.
Yeah,
and they actually look kind of similar now that I think about it.
Yeah, they pretty much do.
Babies! Anyway.
So, let's get into the acting.
Yeah,
okay?
Because the acting is the best part of this movie. It
really was so good.
He assembled a cast with chemistry, man.
Yeah, they really...
off each other
that
so well.
Group, Group 2 or whatever, what was it?
Group 2, yeah. The sequel to Group 1.
The sequel to Group 1, but dumber.
Yeah, oh man.
Yeah, no.
A little meta there, are we?
Yeah, but I love that. That's such good key, writing. It's oh man, I'm telling you, this is a movie that even Cody Leach is going to love for the writing.
You think so?
Oh yeah, for the writing.
Well, yeah, but I think will he have some of the same problems that I do?
I think he will too. And believe it or not, I'm going to have a couple of the same issues when we get to the effects.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I will say, let's stick with the acting for now. Again, Thomas Jane stole the show on Group 2, but all the other characters were just as engaging.
Yeah.
Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones
he was the only guy whose name I didn't really know.
Yeah, that's not his actual name. That's his name from Game of Thrones. But he was entertaining.
He had the least to do.
Yeah,
of everyone.
Keegan-Michael Key was very entertaining. The guy that played what was his character? The main guy that was talking to
the dude from Moonlight, and totally Nebraska.
Oh yeah, Nebraska. He did a good job too. And then even the what is he, Mexican or Hispanic, Brazilian maybe?
I would say Hispanic, probably.
Yeah, with the long hair. He was hilarious.
And with the religious devoutness.
He was the one I didn't know on the bus, but I haven't seen Moonlight, but he was the one that felt like the...
Well, the one from Moonlight is Nebraska.
Yeah, I know, I'm saying, Moonlight and the Hispanic character are the only two I didn't fully know.
Oh, okay.
But this is the only guy that felt like he was sort of an unknown.
Yeah.
And he stole a lot of his scenes, too.
Of course he did, because they gave Shane Black writing these characters so well. Once again, it was when the action got too mindless and there wasn't as much dialogue that the movie lost steam.
I agree with you.
Because it was written so well from a character standpoint,
not
as much from a story standpoint.
They House of a Thousand Corpse did.
Like
because basically what happened was Rob Zombie made House of a Thousand Corpses, and the studio saw it and they're like, okay, this is good enough. We're going to give you $1 million to go back and reshoot the last third, which is why we got Dr. Satan.
Oh, I didn't
that
know.
Dr. Satan wasn't in the original cut.
The original NC-17 cut that nobody has seen?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that was that cut or not, but it wasn't Dr. Satan. It wasn't that whole underground layer. None of that was in it until the studio was like, here, we're going to give you an extra $1 million. That feels like this. There was the first 2/3 of the Predator, and there was the last third of the Predator that felt like it felt like the train jumped the rails and was just kind of going off in this very rocky direction.
There's a Rails of the
There is
Train
a Rails
reference.
train reference earlier on, though.
Yeah.
But so sticking with the actors, who else did you like? Obviously, I mentioned Keegan-Michael Key. I thought he was great.
Yeah, I would say I had some issues with her being as actiony as she was. I didn't always believe it. But I must say, Olivia Munn, she impressed me more than I thought she was going to. Maybe I didn't buy her as much in the action heroine beats that they gave her, jumping on buses and all this.
She struck me more as... I don't mean to cut you off. Please continue in just a second. She struck me more as the female character from Deadpool than your typical female sort of co-lead.
Well, she was written well, and I mean, it was just some of the things they had her do. Not the, like, I always thought she was, like, wooden and didn't really get very much dialogue and couldn't deliver it, but she delivered her dialogue very well. She impressed me in that degree, and with her physicality, I guess, too, but I just didn't buy in as much to her character's badassness, I guess. So call me a chauvinist, but,
That's fair. Now, and the kid you agree was good?
Kid was good. I mean, he wasn't in it a super large amount of it, but I mean, he was in Room, and so everybody. I can't remember if he was nominated for any sort of awards for it, but I mean, that's when Brie Larson won the Best Actress award for that, and her in that.
The blonde lady that's sort of the housewife that you see in the trailer. She was not in it as much as I thought was going to be as well, but even she. Was sort of badass in her own right.
She was good. Well, I mean, look who she's married to,
Yeah, it made sense. The multi-decorated, military man.
Yeah.
So, all right, should we transition into the effects?
I think we should. Yeah, we
all
definitely
should.
So
I think we both, as Fuego sort of mentioned earlier, we both agree that there's some questionable CG things in this. Now, is it the predominance or just some, do you think? I think a lot in the third act. I hate to say it again, but I feel it was like 20% bad.
Yeah, and I'd say
80% good.
I'd say might be 60-40. Super Predator was too CG for me because there were
a lot of times, yeah,
especially with the movement scenes and stuff like that, and some of the action.
Super Predator was definitely
and
all
honestly,
CG,
you see them in some of the TV spots. I hated the Predator dogs.
The dogs felt unnecessary, and especially
so forced. And
there's a story beat that didn't feel right either. Yeah. But nonetheless...
but I thought the gore was handled very well.
There was lots of it.
There's a ton of it. There really is. And once again, back to the space stuff that we mentioned, I thought that was good. When we did have practical Predator, it still looked really good. Big, muscly, brutish, like 7-something foot person. I thought it was awesome. And all the armor seemed like it got a little bit of a cosmetic upgrade, and it looked sharp, and it looked modern, and it looked like the Predator species has been evolving and advancing, which they obviously have, as you find out in the trailers and stuff where they're talking about, amassing, making a super Predator and whatnot. So yeah, their technology is getting better, and it showed, and it looked cool. I would have liked a few more of the Predator viewpoint scenes.
Yeah, we didn't get many of that. There wasn't a lot of Predator masks in this on Predators.
Yeah, good call, actually. Yeah, they were all like tusks and stuff pretty much every time we saw.
But we got to see some cool stuff with the tusks that we didn't see before.
Oh, yeah, we did.
A lot of really cool stuff. They were very much more monsterish in this one than they were in the past. Like,
at least the
big
brutish,
don't get too close to a predator's mouth.
Yeah.
Yo, like
that's a hint.
They don't just roar at you. They got big bony tusks for a reason. And one specific thing that happened was so awesome. It like showed. I was like, whoa, that like there was a few kills that were like legitimately. This is a horror movie.
Yeah, the kills.
Like that one specifically was very horror movie.
Yeah, I will give it that the kills were actually all pretty creative and quite memorable.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah. Even if some of them looked a little more in the cartoonish blood side with the ultra violence associated with them. There is one, though, that I can't wait to mention in the spoilers, and I know the one.
There's going to be a lot of fun to talk about in the spoiler section, but
this is one where we really can't mention much, and I feel like we've danced on the edge just a little bit.
But it's okay. Yeah. So again, the effects, the practical that we get is all great.
It was when we get it.
And the weapons that we get are pretty cool, like the gauntlet thing, the hand cannon, and the cloaking sphere. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some funny stuff with the cloaking sphere.
Yeah, so you know there's some really cool stuff that they do with the effects. I mean, the cloaking stuff looks great.
Yeah.
That's not a problem, but
that's
there is
what problem they haven't effed that up yet.
The problem arises when it's the CGI character fighting and it gets tossed around and it doesn't work that great,
and also some green screen shots on ships and stuff like that.
Yeah, some stuff like that. But they do some really good, again, the writing.
There was some
the writing does some cool stuff towards the end,
yes,
right? I think we're thinking about the same stuff regarding the ship.
Yes.
Yeah, because that, like, you don't think about that, and then it happens, and you're like, oh.
Although I did see it coming. I was like, oh, I know what's about to happen.
Well, yeah.
But I wanted it to happen, so it's almost like, I don't know, those satisfying,
there was a moment
like,
that was
self-fulfilled prophecies of violence in a film where I always think of the second Underworld where the helicopters is going.
Not helicopters for me. I was thinking Resident Evil with the laser hallway. Where you know what's coming and you're like, okay, how is it going to happen? How's it going to happen? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, in the second Underworld where a helicopter crashes and like the propellers going and going and going. I'm like, oh, it'd be so badass if somebody got kicked into that thing and then it just happened. Or the first Evil Dead, you're like, what if that tree? Never mind.
Yeah, jeez. Well, yeah. Wait, that was your thought? What if that tree went up? So
I was a kid. I was a sick little bastard.
Yeah, apparently. Wow. Don't grow up in a religious household, guys, or you come up with Evil Dead stuff.
Repressed.
So yeah, again, the effects, they're questionable at times, but you let it go because of the fun it's presenting.
Yeah, and the fun outweighed my critique, you know? It was very tough sitting in this film with how fanatical I am about this franchise and how forgiving I am with this franchise, especially in the comic book realm. But, I always try to see the good in it, and it's like fan versus critic. How do you separate the two sometimes? And I feel now with talking with you about it, I'm approaching it more so as a fan than as a critic while I was sitting in the theater just watching it, and I'm just like,
See, I didn't do that. Yeah, no, I started to at the very beginning, and then I was like, you know what? I'm enjoying this ride. I'm just going to kick back
there was a
and really just let it wash over me.
point in time when I shifted into that.
Oh, there was? Okay, I'd like to know that during the spoiler if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm glad. We have a lot to talk about in spoilers this time, actually.
We do.
So.
Yeah, music, they still recycle the same iconic
Not
score.
all of it, no. There was sometimes...
But they accentuated and almost
They do. There was enough different stuff that was good, but you got the standard Predator callbacks. And, again, the dialogue was so funny when they're like, we call it a predator. She's like, why? It's like, he explains like, well, it hunts people. And she's like, isn't that more of a sports hunter, not a predator? Yeah. And he's just like, I love it. He's just like, well, we all voted. It sounded cooler. Yeah. That's just one of the lines. It's not going to ruin it. It plays really funny because the whole room of dudes are like, yeah.
There was some... This was a very bro movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Except Olivia Munn, except, yes, she played as one of the bros. So, okay, I'll give you that.
It was a bro-a-thon, but hey, good bro.
It was very bro-tastic. You gotta have your bro.
Get on that chopper, bro.
Yeah. You know? Get to the choppers. Yeah, that was a good callback.
There's a lot of funny Easter egg type references to the rest of the series, which is cool.
But when that happens, that could have so easily been a groaner.
Yeah.
But it was an inverse groaner.
Yeah, but
the audience didn't go, oh. The audience went, oh, okay, I'm with you. So yeah, I think
everybody's gonna be waiting for it.
That's okay. They don't. Yeah, but they don't know when it's gonna come.
Okay.
So anyway, I am excited for you guys to see this one. I
really want to hear people's opinions on this.
I do too. You know, again, we admit that there are some detracting factors, but overall, the movie is just so fun that I just overlooked them.
Yeah, it's not more fun for me than the original one, at least, but it's definitely the most lighthearted and the most not taking itself that seriously.
Yeah.
And which works for the most part to its benefit, I would say. You know, I mean, Predators was so serious, dude. Like, that was so devoid of humor, but I loved the look of that film. I loved how that was primarily practical, except for the weird creatures that attacked them at the beginning. For the most part, that was all, like, Predator, like, practical, like, person in a suit Predator. And I think that's why I had so many gripes about the big bad in this one, was because the look just didn't always do it for me. But
here's what the only thing I can I was trying to think of a cinematic equivalent of this sort of reinvigoration. It's not a reboot per se.
No, this is a full-on sequel.
It's a full-on sequel, but it's like it takes the Predator formula and it injects adrenaline to it. Yeah. So what I would say is the closest thing is when the Fast and the Furious franchise went to Fast and Furious in Part 4, and they brought in The Rock. I believe he came in Part 4, and it was a shot into the vein of the series, and all this crazy stuff was happening. And while the other stuff, the first three were like silly, stupid, this one was just like insane, over the top, and that's kind of what this feels like. That kind of
vibe to it. Yeah.
So, but everyone liked Fast and Furious, so I imagine this one's going to do pretty well. The crowd seemed to be in a happy grumble as they were leaving.
Yeah, for the most part. I was like overhearing certain people, you know, chatting amongst themselves and whatnot as we were walking out, and it seemed more positive than anything else. You know, I heard somebody say I liked it better than the last one. That's what I heard some older guys say, and I was like, well, okay,
fair enough. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to cover our non-spoiler thoughts on The Predator.
Yeah.
Wait and go see it, and then come back and watch our spoiler thoughts if you want, or if you can't wait, we're going to record that now. So, thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you very much to our patrons for supporting the channel. The link is in the description box down below if you want to become a patron. We actually just uploaded. We're going to be posting very soon our review and commentary for The Shining, but we actually just put up our Monster Squad review and commentary a couple of days ago. So we appreciate those of you that support us that way. We appreciate all of you guys for watching. Please click the subscribe button down below if you want to see other advanced reviews like this. We just did a advanced review of The Nun last week, so you never know what we're going to be able to get away with. Hopefully we'll be able to pull something off for Halloween.
But we'll see.
So thanks very much, guys. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias. I've been Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared!